where I want to start is that where I'm at currently, I think that it's really hard for me to do this work, to do social justice work with people who are at the start line, or maybe haven't even chosen to get to the start line of their social justice journey. It's a place in which I'm not good at. Maybe I'll just phrase it like that. Like, I am not an effective advocate. I'm not an effective ally. I'm not an effective change agent for people who are at the start line or realize that actually I want to reject that social justice is even a thing. I'm one of those people. I feel like in today's political climate, we just hear nonstop how divided we are. Like, that's what I feel like every single day. Like, oh, we're so divided. We just need to come together. Do we? Like, I have zero interest of coming together with a white supremacist. Is that something that we need to be, like, not divided on? I'm actually proud to be divided on white supremacy.
Yeah.
And I just think that in our work, allies are important, right? As a BIPOC person, I really can't do a whole lot of work with white people who really don't get it. And I know that. I know that about me. And I say that because that sometimes leads me down a slippery slope. There's so much violence that is happening right now. There is so much harm and pain. We're over 500 anti-queer and trans bills throughout the US right now. Those
Yeah.
bills are passing. They're being enforced. It's active eugenics. I'm going to call it a spade. It's literally active state-sponsored eugenics that is happening right now. We are literally telling our queer and trans kids that they shouldn't exist, and
Mhm.
the fact that they are is a problem, and they should die. And that's really what is happening right now. And that fills me with so much anger, but also so much helplessness that I don't know what to do with all of that. And so I think the way that comes out in my day to day lived reality is sometimes I'm dismissive. Sometimes I throw people away. Sometimes there's a very real light switch with me. And when we're on, and the moment you do something, that light switch is off and you're done. And I just, I say that because I recognize that as not being healthy. And to come back full circle to your question, I am able to navigate those differences I have with people, which sounds horrible, but I'm going to own it, with the more harm that I do. When I realize that I'm not that far away from some of those people. Some of
Mm.
these people that I would light switch and turn off and throw away and disregard and be like, nope, I'm good. The world would literally be better off without you in it. It just takes me saying that out loud to be like, hey, guess what, Tay? That's how you were born and raised. People telling you that and socializing you to literally that same exact sentiment. The
I
world would be
see.
better off without you in it.
Yeah.
Or I do a mistake that's pretty close to what I would throw away people for and be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, wait, I thought there was like a clear precipice between doing this thing that I despise and me never doing it, and I just got real close to doing it." Or matter of fact, I did the thing. And that is just such an eye-opening experience that our environments, our mental health, our surroundings, our people that we're around, the ways in which we engage with one another is so influential. And the moment that we start to disregard other people, even when everything within us is, yeah, they should be disregarded, it just does us a disservice. And I don't think it's accurate. Like, when I was growing up and I had all of this socialization, I did not have people who loved me. I did not have friends or family. I did, maybe in quotation marks, but those people didn't love me for who I was. Those people didn't affirm me. They met me with violence and abandonment and disappointment every chance they got. But who didn't was my local gang. And it was these people who were out doing immense harm to other people who accepted me exactly who I was. I found community in absolutely the wrong people. And it was another lesson too.
Yeah.
And like, I shouldn't find like this thing that I'm doing is so bad and awful. And the things that these people are doing is so bad and awful, but it's a trade off because they're also the only ones who say that I'm welcome, the only ones that ask me to do things, invite me to do things, want me there, make me feel seen,
Yeah.
make me feel like I'm a friend or a family member or a loved one. It was community. Was it community doing good? Absolutely not. It was community doing harm, but it was community. And when I was within that community, I did horrible things. I did really violent, destructive, horrible things. And I bounced between 2 groups because as a person of color, I'm extremely light skinned, and that is a huge privilege. In some geographic locations, I fully pass as white, don't speak Spanish. I was adopted by a white male who raised me, so I very much was assimilated into white culture. And so there was a part of the white supremacist gang in which I claimed community to, and which I was involved with. At the same time, like, I grew up in Mexican town, Mexican village, so everyone around me was very much so people of color, and so there was also this element where I found community with them as well, but I wasn't dark enough. I didn't have the family, the tradition, the culture. I didn't speak Spanish. And so it was just this liminal space where once again, even with people who are like doing immense harm and will take anybody, I didn't belong. I was
Yeah.
stuck in between. I wasn't white enough, like I wasn't brown enough. Like I just didn't fit. And having that experience of doing immense harm, bouncing between those sort of gangs really showed me, like, today, flash forward, when I'm like, "These I cannot talk to these people. I cannot work with these people. They have no place here." Guess what, Tay? You were one of those people, literally. Like, you were a person who was doing race-based harm. You felt like I always knew it was wrong, I will say that. But I still did it. Regardless of the intention, that was my impact, that was my action, I still did those things. And it's my whole point to bring this full circle is the largest lessons that I have had is me doing harm, me making mistakes, me doing big failures, and seeing firsthand the harm that I caused. And being able to see that harm shows me 2 things. 1, I am capable of doing harm like anyone else. I am absolutely capable of causing harm. And 2, harm sucks. It is
Yeah.
bad, it is awful. So much harm has been done to me. I can see the harm I'm doing now. And so it's this cognitive dissonance of like, all of us have bias, all of us have prejudice, all of us have been born into, and by all of us, I'm really meaning maybe the US, Western culture and society, have been born into this capitalistic, white supremacist, white culture. We're under settler colonialism, right? So, like, we were literally born into a settler colonialist society. So, it's what we know. It's what we've been born under. It's what is ingrained in us that we're socialized to. And as much as in this field, we're trying to dismantle that, we're trying to be liberated from that, we're trying to abolish it. It's still our environment. So, all of us have those elements of bias and prejudice and do harm and are capable of harm. And it's just all to say, when I'm in those moments where I'm throwing people away in my head, I just remind myself that guess what? I would have thrown myself away more 100 times over. I
Mhm.
would have been a person who I would have thrown away. And I've done immense harm. And it took me doing, and this is not something I'm proud of. I'm deeply ashamed of this. I'm deeply ashamed of it, but I'm going to say it. It took me doing immense harm to other people to grow and to learn and to change and to better myself. And so when I say that my greatest skill, the thing that I learned throughout all of this is how to survive, it is absolutely at the expense of other people.
Mm.
Like I stand on both the people who have intentionally helped me, and I also stand on the people who I hurt very severely and unintentionally has caused me to change and grow. And so that's really what I think about when I think of systems of oppression, when I think of internalized oppression, when I think of macro and microaggressions, when I think of bias, when I think of all of these things, I think of both how I was socialized to it and gave into it and did the harm, but then I also think about how it propelled me to change and grow and to learn because now I can directly see that I could be that person. And
Yeah.
there's nothing like that, I think, that can really get to the heart of it, right? When I think of a prime example is one of the biggest things that gets rid of anti-queer and trans legislations, where you see even red states and red governors who you would think, oh yeah, this is going to pass with flying colors, actually veto those bills is to tell our stories, is to have people say, hey, I am that kid you are actively trying to kill. I'm a
Yeah.
real person. I'm right here in front of you. I'm just a kid
Yeah.
trying to find joy, trying to just be myself, and I'm not hurting anyone. Let me tell you my story. And those stories are stories affect change. They make all the difference in the world. And that's still horrible. We shouldn't have to do that. We shouldn't have to talk our oppressor out of oppressing us. That should
Yeah.
not be our role. But those
Yeah.
stories is what changes, and I think that's what changed me was not only being oppressed, but being the oppressor as well, and seeing the cognitive dissonance between those 2 things and saying, "Wow, I actually never want violence again in my life. I
Mhm.
never wanna cause harm again in my life."